Hello again and welcome to my channel. It is Sunday again, which is why I will do some stacking, because today is stacking Sunday. Well, at least I try to keep that up a bit. Do I have enough time for that? No. Do I have enough data? Yes. If you look with me on my screen, you can see that I have a folder here with all deep sky objects I shot throughout 2023. There's a video where I already present some of the data that I already stacked. But there's also a lot of data in here that isn't stacked yet. And that is the purpose of Stacking Sunday. Let's see all that data that I have shot in the past, which has not yet been stacked. For now, I'm going to focus on 2023, but perhaps later in this series I will also look at older data. I'm going to look at the data for 2023. And I was looking at the data. If I open up the folders, this is something I already showed. The horse head has also already been processed a bit and shown in the video I mentioned before. The same applies to the Butterfly Nebula, which is the region around the star Cedar in Cygnus. But the next one on the list is the Heart Nebula. I shot this with the William Optics 81 GT, which stands for Gran Turismo, by the way. Don't know why. And the William Optics scope is a refractor, so 385 millimeters of focal length, because it is a reduced telescope. And I shot HO data for this. So hydrogen alpha data and oxygen 3, which should potentially allow us to get a nice image. I haven't looked at the data yet before starting the recording, but this is an idea of what is in there. So without further ado, let's bring forward Siril, which is my tool of choice. Let's bring in the files. So let's make this a bit smaller, because I like to drag and drop. That's an easy thing, because I then can see all the HA data. I will drop it into the the conversion tab, and in Siril I need to create a sequence out of this. So this will be Heart, I can't type, Heart HA. I can click convert, and now Siril knows, okay, this is the HA data. I need to calibrate this. The specific camera I was using on this telescope doesn't really benefit much from using darks. At least I'm taking shortcuts here. So this is why I only use a bias and flats for this particular scope. This is how it works for me. This is not a video that tells you, hey, you can take shortcuts and do that. It's, hey, you can take shortcuts in certain circumstances if you want to do that. So let's load the bias, and I will load a flat. This data was shot on the 8th of February 2023, so I need to find a matching flat for this. So I go back to my astrophotography drive, and I have a catalog of flats, and let's sort it by name. This is the William Optics telescope. I'm with a HA filter, so what did I say? The 8th of February. So the closest to-date flat I can find is the 18th of, 2023 HA. So apparently I didn't shoot flats for a long time there in HA, because in 2023 I only shot one in May. Okay, it's not ideal, but let's see if that works out. So the pre-processing will be starting. By the way, it's all black here because I have not yet done some stretching. I can tell Siril to show the display in an auto stretch form, and then you already see the data. So this is now, by the way, pre-processed already. I can see that here. It's PP for pre-processing. And now I need to register the data. So I go into the Register tab and I click on Register. It's very simple sometimes. So it has been registered. Let's see how the quality is. So this graph here shows the full width half maximum. So the higher the number, the fatter the stars. So this particular image that is now showing has potentially has the smallest stars in this estimation calculation. This is the fattest stars. Does it make too much difference? No, I don't think so. As you can see, the values of the full width half maximum don't it's not a big spread or something. The graph makes it show like that, but yeah, you can see 2.01 to 2.72. There are some other quality things that you might want to consider, like for instance the roundness. So this specific image that is now shown has the lowest roundness value of the bunch, and this one has the highest. I just go to the stacking tab, I let all the things stack, and here we go. And by the way, I picked which options? I picked the additive with scaling, because that is what you want to do when stacking lights. So this is the HA data. It's stacked, it's already saved, so I can go back to the conversion tab and we will do the same thing for the Oxygen 3 data. So files are there. Obviously this sequence will have to be named differently, otherwise Siril will get confused. So this is the oxygen data. This we will need to calibrate as well. The HA flat will not work. We need to find the Oxygen 3 flat. I'll use this one from almost half a year before. As I mentioned, I take shortcuts, and those come with benefits and with downsides. We'll go into registration. Okay, it has been registered. Let's see that plot again. I see values for roundness that are not too separate, and the same applies for the full width half maximum. I'm not going to mess with it. So I'll stack those two, and then we should have two files, one for HA and one for Oxygen 3. And the final thing that we then need to do is combine those two into a color image. And you might think, color image, that is RGB. No, yes, that's correct, but we're going to take yet another shortcut. But I see a issue with this image. It has now been stacked, and you can see on the right it's darker than on the left. And what I'd like to do then is something called background extraction. Usually I will click the Add Dither option, which will create a little bit of randomness in the way that this process is taking place in order to prevent some patterns to emerge from the image that are not real. So I will generate a grid. All these red squares here is a measuring point, which should allow the software to determine the correct background color. So we definitely don't want it to be in the nebulosity area, and I'm going to right click a bit and remove some of these things that are not supposed to be background. Something like this. I don't want it to, I don't need it to be highly accurate. Perhaps remove those. No, this is about the region of the nebula. And then I can compute background. You can probably immediately see it will improve the image. So now the image is completely equalized in background. So let's apply it. I can see the before and after. So I'll save this as a fit. Let's keep it in the highest possible bit rate. So I have the highest amount of gray values in this file. And let's open up that HA stack as well. And let's determine if it also suffers from this. I don't think so. You can, by the way, already see that HA data is much more predominant in this nebulosity than the oxygen 3, but yeah, that's mostly the case with objects in the night sky. Okay, we have two images, and those two images have not yet been individually aligned to one another. We had stacks for HA that were registered and in that sense aligned on top of each other, and the same for oxygen 3, but those two stacks have not yet been aligned to one another. So I like to do that in this way. So I will load up the HA stack and that background extracted oxygen 3. I'll add those to a stack and I'll call this Heart HO. So these two files are now in a sequence. I'll just immediately jump into registration because I want to align those two on each other. And that is now done. And what I like to do now is do some magic with it, because I need to put those two into a combination where we get an HOO image. RGB becomes HOO. Let's see how that looks. I can go into pixel math, which is a feature in PixInsight, but it also is in the free Siril software. I'll load up those two files. So if I go to the latest files, then I can see those two here. I can open them, and Siril already knows which file is the HA and which file is the O3. So if I now click this checkbox, I can determine which data will go into the R, into the G, into in the B channel, and into the B channel. So if I just simply type HOO here and click apply, it will get me an image that is HOO. It's very green now. I can probably solve that by clicking this button here. And this is an HOO representation of the Heart Nebula. We can do some more tricks with it. For instance, the green channel is now the same as the blue channel. But there's a trick where we can create a surrogate green channel. So instead of just plainly using the oxygen, I can use a combination of oxygen and H alpha. In this case, my formula has been named with different variables, so I'm going to do like this because that is the quickest way to make this work. So now the oxygen 3 is called OIII and the HA is called HA. And now this formula should allow us to create a surrogate green channel. So if I now click apply, it doesn't show all that much difference, but it potentially will allow us to get a prettier image at the end. So this is the image. What I now need to do is make sure that we have the colors in a way that we can work with it, and I'd like to do that with the color calibration. A photometric color calibration is not really a sensible thing to do because this is narrowband data, so those stars, they don't contain any useful color anyway. But we can still do some color calibration by telling the software what should be a background color. So if I select a box here around an area which I think should be background, I can click the use current selection. So the software now knows I need to look at this, and I can click background neutralization. And this now should have neutralized the background. I can also do a similar thing for the white reference. So I can just click the use current selection and I can apply it. And there's not much difference, it's all subtle, but it will hopefully help me out later. I also like to rotate this image in a proper way, so I go into the hamburger menu here and go into image information, image plate solver, and this should contain already the correct values, and I have the flip image if needed checkbox checked. So if I press OK and it is able to plate solve the image, it will also flip it in the correct way. And an added benefit is that it also now knows of all the objects in this field of view. So now we have this image, but I like the image to be rotated anyway. I will rotate it like so. I think this is a more natural way, for me at least, to show this this data. By the way, fun fact, there's a tiny little planetary nebula in here. Do you see it? I shot that too with the Edge HD over the 2023 time frame. But let's see if we can get even more out of this data. We've now been watching it in the auto stretch way, so let's go into generalized hyperbolic stretch transformation. That's a mouthful, right? What I like to do here, this is not a tutorial how to use it, but this is how I use it. I just crank the local stretch intensity up all the way, and then I start pulling on this lever until I see the histogram go just between that first and that second vertical line. And if I've accomplished that, I try to find a point in this histogram where that diagonal line is touching the bump of the histogram for the first time. I just click there, and what it does is it sets a symmetry point. It's very low now, 0.0032. And then I try to stretch it a bit more to see if I can get it to show some more data. And I start to seeing a weird hump here, so that I took it too far. Let's go back a bit. That hump is still here a bit. Yeah, this is about apparently as far as I can get it, so I will click apply, and this will reset the sliders here, so I can do it again, but this time I'm going to set that symmetry point to the spot where the bump is on the diagonal on the right side. So I click it again. Now the symmetry point is set to a bit higher. I'm not going to touch the local stretch intensity this time. I'm going to simply drag that stretch factor to the right. And what you will see is that the left side doesn't move too much to the right, but the right side of the bump does. And I stopped now because I saw that the entire histogram bump was starting to move to the left again. Let me show that again. If I drag it back to where it was, if I start dragging it, and you'll see that at one point the histogram stops moving to the right and it goes to the left again. If I take it too far, I will blow out some details here, and that's not what I intend to do. So let's not take it that far. Let's take it as far as it can go without moving to the left again. So this is how I do this. I can also do some sliding on the highlight protection and the shadow protection, but that is generally not needed if I do it like this. I'll click apply, and this is all I do in the generalized hyperbolic stretch transformation. I can do several other things now. One of the things is there's probably still some green hue in this. I can see or try to use the SCNR, the remove green noise feature, to see if that helps. I'll just leave it at the default values. So the image now, the background at least, is less green, and I still have this nice difference between the red of the HA and the bluish tint of the oxygen 3. So I think this is where I want the image to be at. So this remove green noise thing, I think it helped. A final thing that I can do is to be able to work on this a bit more even, is removing those stars and then trying to work with the nebulosity a bit more still. This will take some time, so this is where I need to cut the video because it's not a lot of time, but I don't want to bore you too much if you haven't already been bored. Is this the right time, by the way, to do the star removal? I don't know. I generally just do what I think. I thought of star removing just now, so I should start the star removing now. I could have done it before stretching, for instance, so I could have potentially let the stars not bloat as much as they potentially already did, and then stretch the nebulosity without the stars. So this will take some time, as you can see. There. Took some time, 8 minutes and 12 seconds to be exact. But now I have only the nebula, so not stars. You can even see that that planetary nebula that I was talking about earlier is also kept intact by StarNet++. So I now have a file without stars, but I also have a file with only the stars because I ticked the generate star mask button. So what I can do now is take this into Photoshop and then tinker with it a bit and then combine the stars back in it again. At least I think that would be the best thing to do. Oh yeah, I have them in fits format still, so I first need to save them as a Tiff. So, Tiff, that's the starless thing. Let's also do that with the star mask, which will look odd, only the stars. Let's save that too. Yep. And now I can go into Photoshop and drag those two files into Photoshop. And it will present me with this window, and I usually pick the convert documents color to working space, which will give me a similar looking or the same looking file as I had in Siril. So now I always start with duplicating the background layer. Then I do some transformations on this. I think I would want to have that background a bit darker indeed, and then increase the visibility of the nebula. There are a few ways to do this. One of the ways is by trying a adjustment layer with levels. In this case, it ends up on my other screen. In this case, I didn't really need to then create another layer, but yeah, I'm doing things always in a way that I am accustomed to. So we can drag that bottom thing a bit up, and we will find ourselves struggling with the same issue as we had in Siril. We also add a lot of noise by doing this, but we can try to get rid of that noise. So let's use this, and I will create a new layer out of it, and I need to go into 16-bit mode, which is a bit sad because I lose a lot of information. I'm opening the camera raw filter. Perhaps I should have done that by going into what is it, filter, camera raw, so you can see the clicks that I do. Oh, this is going to be a long video. Why do I do that? So I can get rid of the noise by dragging on some sliders. But you can see that it is a delicate balance that I need to do, because yeah, I also make the nebulosity a little less visible. So we've sharpened it, reduced the noise a bit, and I'm going to remove this. And if I add that levels adjustments again, it looks nice. Yeah. Let's make sure that this adjustment only applies to this background copy here, and let's add another adjustment layer, and this time we're going to play with curves, and I'll let that one also only apply to what is below, and I'm going to try at first to drag the dark thing a bit to the left and then start adding a curve to the, what is it, the light part of the screen, and I'm going to drag the dark a bit to the left again to try to prevent to make it too dark. I think I like this. It's just a matter of trying and feeling it out, basically. Yep. So let's go and grab those stars and bring those in as well. Put them on top, and let's put the what's this called? The blending mode to screen. Yeah. I think those stars are a bit blue, don't you think? That's because of the fact that these stars are basically only HA and oxygen 3, so they definitely don't have a proper RGB color. So I think I would want them to also get rid of the color a bit, because I'd rather have them desaturated as them being, let's say, not really, they distract from the image. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I also want it to only apply to the stars, and let's get rid of the saturation. Yeah, I think this looks a lot more natural. Let's not mess too much with the lightness. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And as a final touch, shall I do it? Yeah, I think I'm going to add one more levels adjustment layer. Yes. And I'll let it work on the entire image for now. And if I double click the dark eyedropper, I have it set to a value of 30, 30, 30 in the RGB, which is a dark gray. This is the color that I want the background to have. So if I grab this dark eyedropper and click on a spot where I think it should have been this dark gray, then the entire image will shift in color balance and levels to that value. And I think this makes a more natural viewing. I think we need a crop and then we're done. So I'll do that and you'll see the end result in a few seconds. Thanks for watching. I hope my next Stacking Sunday video won't be this long, and if it will be next week, I'm not sure. I have other videos that I want to make, and I notice now that the stacking Sunday idea is getting in the way of that a bit, but yeah. Thanks for watching and see you next time.